Apparently, we're live. Amazing. Fantastic.
All
There
right.
we go. Surprise, surprise. Sometimes Streamlabs eats you, and sometimes you eat the Streamlabs. Hi there, taxidermists and gentle peeps. This is Neil Woodman, and I'm here with Matt Cross this evening to take a trip through the Fearsome Wilderness, which is the latest survival horror RPG to come out of the great publishing houses of Geektopia Games. Say hi there, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show with you today to talk a little bit about this game. And obviously, I'm very excited to dive into chat, all kinds of things about the game, specifically some 3D printing topics, because I'm a big fan of that. And I know that's a lot of people watching will be interested in. And I thought we could talk about the game, but then maybe do a little tour of Fearsome Wilderness and kind of go through some of the locations that are out there because a lot of them have cool 3D printable add-ons you can get.
Mm, fantastic. Yeah. So we originally heard about this from you when you contacted us about wanting to use our wreckage of the Star Freighter in some of your promotional material, which, quite frankly, we were over the moon about. I mean, it was great to see that it was being used in such a way. So the setting, as you described it for this, begins with a spaceship crashed on a strange planet and only gets worse from there, right?
Correct, correct. It gets worse, gets a little a little weird, a little strange. So this is a role-playing game. Fearsome Wilderness first was a board game that we launched in October of 2020, so a couple years ago.
Right.
And
Okay.
we funded it, and as I was playing it, I kept, it's a medium complexity game, and it's more a board game, right? Like as we were playing it, we started like saying like this would be fun to role play this, and we were kind of taking a role playing approach at times to the game.
Hmm.
So once we finished up that game and got it shipped out to everybody, me and my writing partner Ian Baskey started really putting down, on paper this story that we thought could use the same setting, the same monsters, and a lot of the same artwork that we had, but give you a lot more to explore.
Right. Yeah.
And it works. It's a game very much that it's very flexible. A lot of our playtesting at the beginning was just, and a lot of our playing of this game is theater of the mind, where we're just sitting around. You don't need anything other than a pen, paper, and some pencil paper and some dice, right? But I'm a big fan of 3D printing, and when I found that wreckage of the Star Freighter, it was kind of perfect for what I needed because I had a group of people on playable characters on a spaceship that crashes in the wilderness. So I jumped at
And a
getting
lot of our
those, printing them. We had met, I had some friends on an old Discord a long time ago where we met, and so I liked the digital. I knew of digital taxidermy, and I liked the stuff, and then just having play tested with a lot of that and just had it out on my table. Um, it was like I got to reach out to these guys and see if I can at least
um,
use some pictures of this cool terrain. So
amazing. Thanks for that. Like, really appreciate it as well. Because when I got that message from you, and your your usual handle, Dystopian Matt, I was like, oh, I know this guy. Like, I recognize this name. So where was the? I just sort of a slight sidetrack. When was the first time you came across digital taxidermy? Was it the wreckage of the Star Freighter set?
no,
Because
you gotta put me on the
it
spot.
seems to
It was
me
like
like
the Hive
you've been
stuff.
kicking around for a while.
Yeah, no, and I followed along everything. I think I got some of that Hive terrain. I think you call it Hive. It's like little hallways you can
Yeah, yeah,
run
yeah. The
around
Lost
in,
Biolab. Yeah.
and just like really, it's high quality stuff. It's easy. It was easy to print without supports on my printer. So I started off with an Ender 3 that I built a long time ago, and have gotten into the 3D printing hobby, kind of later than a lot of people, but I feel like
Mm.
I've been doing it a long time now. So I had my Ender 3. I've upgraded to my Prussia. I'm a like diehard Prussia fan now, And then obviously, a lot of the miniatures that Geektopia Games did, the company I'm part of, were for a lot. Some of them you could print on a with filament, but a lot of them were resin-free printables. And I can show you some of the stuff that I had here. Like these are we have all these fearsome critters
Mm.
are the monsters of this game, the villains almost. And they inhabit the wilderness, so you'll be dealing with these nuisance of creatures very frequently. And
There's
so
some pretty
we
cool minis
started
as
off
well.
yeah, so we started off just, it was a board game and it was halfway done. And during that process, I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool for Kickstarters to get like some rocks and some trees? And so one thing led to another. The scope increased. We did like a jackalope, and like, we'll just give them a jackalope. And then I just really liked working with these sculptors so much, and there was so much interest in it that we just kept going. And I got, I think, a picture of some painted ones. So yeah, there's some trees. We did a log cabin. We did a campsite.
Nice.
And these were all just 3D printable add-ons that you can um, that you could get and then 3D print at home. The board game came with the four main folk heroes, which in the board game they're the main playable characters, but in the role-playing game they're kind of more of NPCs, non-playable characters that you might encounter out in the woods. But
Yep.
Paul Bunyan, Johnny Appleseed, Calamity Jane, and Babe the Blue Ox were all actually. We had enough success that we were able to get those cast and shipped physical minis in the
So
actual board
really
game.
dipping into the American legendarium there.
Yes, yes. And I have to give a shout out to the guy that sculpted the four main heroes. His
Yeah,
name
please
is
do.
Leo. Yeah, Leo Picorni. I mean, I love to talk about the artists all the time because they're the real reason that this is successful. That is the cool art and the cool sculpts and everything, right? But the Leo Picorni went on, and he's the lead designer on the Stormlight Archive miniatures Kickstarter, which was hugely successful, and I'm a big fan of that author. And so if you want to see some more of his work, you can check out the Fearsome Wilderness stuff. I had all of this board game. To your point, it's all kind of North American folklore and log cabin stuff. And then my new game, the Fearsome Wilderness, the role playing game, is much more sci-fi. So it was awesome to have Digital Taxidermy have all these like spaceship and sci-fi models that then can just go in the woods,
Yeah,
drop them in
thanks, man.
place. I think it worked out perfect.
So how much was ported over from the board game, and how much did you have to make anew? So like were the miniatures brought across from the board game, all of them, or was the range
Yeah,
expanded?
yeah. It's a good question. So we didn't expand the range at all, but they're all pretty much all of them are compatible. So it's all stuff,
Hmm.
a lot of players will play without terrain and things like that, but a lot of people want that. And so um, you can use like all 25 of the fearsome critters are featured in the role playing game. I shared on my screen here the character sheet just to
Yep.
show that it's way different than a role playing game, and I think it's a cool looking character sheet. But it uses the Year Zero engine, so this is the same Free League put out an open gaming license for their game mechanics,
Yep.
and that was a big catalyst for making this game. Was like I'm really fond of playing their games like Mutant Year Zero, Tales from the Loop, Vaesen, Alien, Coriolis, all these games that are super, super cool use this system, a similar system. And it enabled me to kind of just take the open gaming license, drop it into a Word doc, and just custom start, changing it up and making it horrific and wilderness themed.
So for
So
those
we,
that don't
yeah,
that are not necessarily in the know, so this year zero is the system for how you handle combat, how you move through the world, how you generate, your how you make your choices and decide things basically. And then
totally.
your fearsome wilderness is the setting and the characterization.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, we actually took the rules and customized them quite a bit to,
Right.
each of these games that use that rule set, try to, make it thematic. So we added a nightmare mechanic where you can have nightmares in the game, and as you progress, things get more creepy, and nightmares might kind of bleed over into the real world. So that's
Gotcha.
a mechanic that's added, and we've added a little different way how you track resources because we want it to be like that wilderness survival kind of off the grid living type of situation that you're in here.
Kind of
But you'll see,
Cthulhu-esque sort of thing. Kind of like
yeah,
oh, what's the forget the name of the board game now. Arkham, the Arkham horror series.
yes, yes, it's gonna build in horrific, nightmarish reality.
Yeah.
Um, well, and we have D66 nightmares that you can roll and randomly do, and the nightmares are also a great tool for the game master to for them to place clues or hooks to get you to different locations or adventures or mysteries that you're going to try to solve in this game. It's very simple. So the Free League engine, we chose it because it's very much not Dungeons and Dragons. It's more rules light. It is character driven. It's story driven, right? So it's almost like you're making a movie, and the
Yeah.
GM or the game master is free to cut scenes if he wants to, make rulings rather than look up rules. And you use dice pools instead of rolling a d20 or something, adding a modifier. You're taking a pool of d6s, so it's all d6s, and you're going to roll them. And a six would mean a success. So the more dice you roll, the better
Yeah.
chance you have of getting a
Instant
six.
six appeal.
And keeps the action moving, keeps the story moving along. And there are rules for combat, but they're not too crunchy that you're going to get taken out of the action because of
And
it. So
there's definitely, like, personally, I find there's something way more satisfying about rolling a handful of dice than rolling a single d20.
it's that war gamer in us, maybe.
Yeah, I love it.
Um, so I will mention. So we're talking about games and kind of the history of what is Fearsome Wilderness. So it was a board game first. You can see this, and
Yep.
it's actually pretty much sold out. I think there's a couple copies left at stores around the world, but we hope to do a reprint or a version 2.0 sometime.
So this
Um,
was a fully published, physical, printed board game.
yeah, yeah, it comes in that box, that nice black box, with the minis and we did wooden dice. And here it is set
Nice.
up. This is a recent photo we were playing on Wednesday, and so we still play it all the time. We love it, and it's good for Halloween season. And
Awesome.
throughout the process, I this is highly relevant because a lot of the 3D printable stuff that you have works perfect for the other version of Fearsome Wilderness called Forbidden Wilderness, which is a expansion, mini expansion that you can add to Forbidden Psalm. By KRD Designs, I struck up a friendship with Kevin, who made Forbidden Psalm, and I said, these, fearsome critters, I got 25 of them. Wouldn't it be awesome to, put these uh, in your game, or have
Nice.
stats for them? And I think I said, oh, I'll make some stats just for me to use it. And he was like, oh, no, 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 I'll do it. So now you can go out. That's a Jersey Devil on the screen. You can go out and you can play Forbidden Psalm and you can go hunt these creatures. And there's
That's
no reason
brilliant.
why you couldn't use this same book. There's a little shot of it. We took
Yep.
this to Gen Con. I packed up all these little minis in the book and we played at Gen Con. So I took some good shots there. But
Who did the
there's no reason that
concept
you
art of the creatures as well, man? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So a guy named Bud Wheeler, who's a phenomenal artist, and I remember early in the process, he was like, "How creepy, can I go? And like, what do you want?" And he just nailed it with this like kind of dark black background with a kind of mixed media technique and some pops of colors everywhere, and so.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's that. I just sidetrack a little bit. This is sorry here. It's called Forbidden Wilderness. You can get it on Drive Through RPG. You need the Forbidden Psalm book to play it, but it's also compatible with all our minis, and I would say it's very compatible with the digital taxidermy scenery bundle because that's
Brilliant.
perfect for actually moving your dudes around on the map. So
Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic. So that Forbidden Psalm is less of a board game per se and more of a tabletop skirmish.
Correct. So it's like we started with the board game. I'm a crazy man, and apparently, I decided then to do a miniatures skirmish game and a tabletop role playing.
Brilliant.
It's a lot, but we had, we're reusing some investment that we had. We're a small company, so we've got this art, and um, we just want people that have the minis to have lots of different ways to use them.
Mm.
And the we were talking a little bit about the book, um, and looking at the character sheet. So it's one big book. It's the game master section and the players section and the all the monsters, the bestiarium. It's the setting. I think you mentioned, like, is this just a setting? It's no, it's
Yep.
the setting. It's the story. It has a prologue and a finale, and you can kind of use the middle part for one shots. And it has a solo mode that will be coming soon, sold separately from Parts Per Million games. So there's my
Brilliant.
quick pitch on, like, this is what is it? It's a book. You can get the PDF or you can get the soft cover or the hardcover.
It sounds very much through this entire journey you've been making connections and connections and connections with other creators, publishers, and everything, which is just moving you from one step to the other.
Yeah, I love it. I love supporting other creators too. There's some other
Mm.
games out there like Castaway, which I'm a big fan of, and just like I like meeting other creators.
Mm.
I like meeting the influencers and the YouTubers and things, and I like really, the big part of this game was like, let's make something cool to give to the
Yeah,
community. Um, the digital version is $9, so I'm hoping people will take a chance on it and check out
that
kind of this
that is
unique game.
amazing value. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
what is it? Something
it,
like 140 pages or
nope,
something?
nope. It's
More.
255 pages.
Wow.
And I was
There
like,
you
oh,
go.
I got to put all the backers' names in the back, but that changes things for me. So I'm going to like trim one page and it'll still be 255 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's ready to go. It's done. I'm going to put the backers' names in the book and send it off um, to get, to the printer. And yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
255 pages. It fits really nicely if you see the other games like that use the free league style rule system. They're about the same page count. It's a nice big book that'll fit on your shelf perfectly, and it'll look nice with all your other RPG books, whether they're D&D or free league or whatever else. We're also very fond of more Morkborg, and so
Nice.
that's kind of what's on my shelf right now.
So we've got the character sheet up on the screen at the moment. And now, so everything starts with the character sheet, right? So
Yeah.
let's I guess let's start by taking a quick chat about the characters that you'll build, and why that's relevant as you move on into the next part of the journey.
Perfect. All right, so I'll set the stage for everybody listening and watching, and then we'll embark on a tour of the wilderness. This is my
Fantastic.
digital taxidermy exclusive tour of the wilderness. I've got some images pulled up. We're not going to give away too much, but we'll just talk a
Buckle
little bit
up,
about
people.
the
Get your
inspiration.
tickets ready. All aboard, people.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So Fearsome Wilderness, the board game was very much just wilderness survival. You're out in the woods with creepy critters. They're called fearsome critters. So I didn't make these up. They're public domain creatures. I got really friendly with Len Wood of lumberwoods.org, and he helped me learn all about these because I was very interested, and then we used them for the game. So they are the inhabitants of the woods, but in the RPG, it's a little bit different of a setup. So you play as convicted criminals in the far future. And the basic premise is that you, as a criminal, guilty or innocent of your crime, you were convicted and put into prison. And times getting kind of tough, prison's overcrowded or whatever. And they said, hey, why don't you hop in this hibernation pod? We think technology is going to keep advancing and get better and better. And then we'll wake you up and you can have a much nicer prison stay. But that did not happen. You as characters are abruptly woken up saying, "Hey, it's still dystopian world out there. We found a place for you though. We're gonna move you to this new prison colony. It's kind of half built. You can help them build it." So you get
Yep.
on this very much, we say it's kind of like Lost meets Con Air. So it's very much these.
Nice.
You gather your cast of uh, maybe action movie stars or horror movie stars, they meet each other on this prison spaceship transport unit that will crash in the prologue and strew its cargo all across the wilderness, and you will survive the crash because that you have to survive the crash for the game to continue. But
It would be a
not
very short
everybody
game
does.
otherwise.
Yeah, but that's kind of the true beginning of the game. Is you're now in the wilderness. Night is approaching. There's strange howls coming from the woods. You're going to have to deal with getting food and water and shelter by, doing things like foraging, hunting, fishing, and trapping. It's very much a wilderness game, but you are these prisoners, and we call the players prisoners because they were prisoners and now they're stuck on this planet, kind of still prisoners, right?
Yeah, yeah. Isolation is still a prison if you can't escape, right?
There you go. And there's your one of your allies throughout this process is an NPC. That's the AI robot assistant from the crashed ship, who is kind of repairing herself and now disconnected from her networked connectivity to the mainframe or the corporation that was controlling her. So she's like your friend now, and can maybe make matters better or worse depending on
Right.
how
That
things
that
go.
that was going to be my next question. Are we talking like a Portal type AI here or a Skynet type AI here? You know.
You'll have to kind of find out,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's fine.
But here's just like Cyber Nosferatu is on Instagram. That's best place to find all his gorgeous work. But we worked with him for some pieces, and so this is you kind of crashing down here. And then let's see here. We're gonna talk about all the scenery. And here's kind of an establishing shot of, okay, this is the game. It started now. You are everyone has a crime that they've committed, or is on their character sheet. They have a dark secret. They have an age, and then some people have more knowledge of folklore than others. But it should be kind of jarring. That first night should be one of the scariest nights, and as you spend more time in the wilderness, maybe you'll be able to build a log cabin. um, let's see here. Let's look at the wreckage because that's what I've got kind of lined up here.
Yeah.
And this is your
Perfect.
stuff, right? This is
So,
the goodness.
uh, I'll take a minute, I guess, to quickly talk about this.
Yeah.
So the wreckage of the Star Freighter was a set that we produced. It's got to be about a year ago now, just over 14 months. And we were playing around. We wanted something big, and this is big. Like this will
It
take up
is.
each section of this ship will take up the whole build volume of an Ender 3. And the floors are removable. Everything else prints without supports. And you have multiple levels, and it towers above the battlefield. And this was one of our early endeavors in the pay what you like
Yep.
bandwagon that was going on. So people could actually get this whole set, which started off as four main body sections, plus then we did a ton of stretch goals as well. I think we ended up with something like six stretch goals in the end, for £1. It was great.
That's awesome.
But it was quite popular. We were really pleased with the outcome, and we're super glad that it's finding a place on the table and has a fitting found to be a fitting setting for this game as well.
Yeah, and so you can get all this stuff on the digital taxidermy site, but then they've been nice enough to bundle the wreckage with some other things that we're going to look at here. But I can attest it was easy to print. It was easy to assemble and glue the floors on or whatever. Before I move on, so you see how cool this is. There's even like, I don't know what you guys thought, but like maybe a hibernation chamber in there. There's like a
Yeah,
person in that one, right?
yeah, yeah. So that was like the science lab, and yeah,
Yeah,
sort of. It's either like a hibernation or a quarantine
or
capsule
clone,
or something.
or
So
maybe a clone or something.
yeah, exactly,
Quarantine.
exactly. Where there's science, there's accidents. You know, like this is the basis of pretty much everything we do. Where science happens, danger usually isn't far behind.
I'm clicking through some of these locations. What did you call this one? The reactor core?
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
fusion reactor. Um, I
yeah.
mean, it kind of more like a nuclear bomb, but you know, we can call it a reactor.
I like it, and that's one of the locations in the game. These are actually, it was so perfect. So I like kind of mapped these to the game. These are the cargo pods. So when you
Yep.
crash in the wilderness, I'll give you a little background on this. You're gonna be, you know, resources are very constrained. You don't have much. You're gonna be sharpening some sticks and getting some metal pipes to like hit things with. But these big cargo containers are like nice, juicy targets that the players are looking at, but we haven't made either of them very easy to get into. One of them is kind of on its side and you can't get to the door of it, and the
Yep.
other one is like super locked. So that will be in the game. Oh, sorry. And then here's, um, well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the map here. So
Yeah.
this is how the game works is there's a hex map, and you can see I just have the crash site listed right now.
So what's the
But
sort of scale of this? So is the crash site a single tabletop or
no, no. So this is a little bit abstracted. So each hex is like our little bit of a range. But you've got um there like 6 miles, is that 10 kilometers? I'm not really sure about
Hmm,
converting that, but it's like it'll take you 4 hours to get through if you've never been through it before, and it's dense woods and you don't know where you're going, you're clearing a path. And then once you've been through it, it's 2 hours. This is similar to how the other games kind of do that, but it's a big 5 or 6 mile radius, where you randomly generate it each time you say the party says we want to go forward. Um, there's a bunch of tables that you roll for the weather, the terrain, any
yep.
dangerous things that are there, any lost cargo you can find. And we actually have a website where you can kind of just click it and it'll make all the rolls for you. But it's all randomly generated. So everyone will have a unique experience every time they play this game.
Nice, nice. So it's kind of procedural as you go.
Yeah, and you can
Nice.
generate it, but then there's what we call these special sectors, these special locations, and there is a map in the book that has it, has them recommended where you could place them, and you could just play it that way. But we want to give GMs the flexibility to kind of move stuff around and do whatever. The locate each location could be its own like one shot, but we think it's really fun to just start at the crash site and then just be like someone sees something out in the distance and they want to go explore it.
Go explore
um
and see where they end up.
yeah,
So
but
it's
this,
it's incredibly expansive. Then there's a lot of ground to cover. Um, pardon the pun. Um,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that can keep these campaigns going for a very long time.
yeah, I think this would be a good one to at least spend, do a little mini campaign.
Mm.
This model that you have up here is like one of them that was like the coolest for me when I think this is what stood out to me and maybe grabbed my attention. I was like, well, that's what I had in my head of like the first week that you're in the wilderness and you've crashed there, like you probably find like an old piece of wreckage and throw some tarps over it and
Yep.
like huddle underneath it.
Yep.
Uh,
The
so
wilderness camp,
yeah, but then maybe
wasteland
you
based
have your
camp.
this is Geektopia game stuff, but maybe you have some tent and stuff that you're going to be taking around, and maybe eventually you decide that you want to build a log cabin as more permanent, more secure
Mm.
um, shelter. And there's over 40 different development projects. So um, in the other free league games, often there's like a headquarters or an arc or something that you're upgrading throughout your campaign, and we have that too. So maybe there's an example of elevated storage. Maybe you want to like keep your meat away from the critters, but there's a million things. Build an outhouse, build a garden, build more advanced stuff too. And
Yeah.
then not everybody has to do a log cabin, right? Because it's up
Nice.
to the player. So maybe you want more of that Swiss Family Robinson experience,
Yep.
or maybe you
Ewoks.
want to take a chance on like a cave and see if you could live in there. I don't know if that's a good idea, but it would
Yeah.
be easy. You wouldn't have to build anything.
I mean, bone furniture is nice, right? You know.
Yeah. What would you do? Would you do a cave, a treehouse, or a log cabin, or just do nothing and just have a tent or something?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd start off like I guess hiding and quivering in the tree, then try and work my way towards the log cabin. So, as an interesting aside, I've actually been involved in the construction of a log cabin, which,
Cool.
yeah, it's very time consuming. It's very time consuming.
I um I picked up an old book like by the US government called Building with Logs, and that was one of my resources among like YouTube clips of like all these people trying to build a
Mm,
log cabin. But really back if we go back in time to the board game, this game is called Fearsome Wilderness. So it was a
yeah,
mashup of two things. It was a mashup of Fearsome Critters, which is the name for these North American mythical creatures that the lumberjacks would use to explain why someone went missing or why they lost their axe or whatever,
yeah,
or
yeah.
mess with the new guy.
The
Um, and
folklore.
then the and then the Wilderness was a documentary called Alone in the Wilderness about Richard Pernecki, who went out to Twin Lakes, Alaska, all by himself and built a log cabin by hand. And it's a fascinating old documentary that I recommend people check out.
Richard Pernicki.
Yeah, Dick Pernecki, and his cabin's still there. It's like a national monument now at Twin Lakes, Alaska. And I mean, I stumbled across this like long time ago when just being like researching stuff. Someone I think said like, "Oh, you want to learn how to survive the apocalypse? Just watch Alone in the Wilderness." This guy goes out all by himself and he just lives out there. Like he even makes his tools. Like he just goes with the shovel head and then makes the
Nice.
handle or whatever, right? Like, and he shows you how to build the log cabin and everything. So I was really
Brilliant.
jazzed up about it. We made this 3D printable model available to print in three sections. So like a floor, three
Yep.
sections, a roof, and then add stuff. So if you play the game, you can kind of like build it
Build it
along with
up
the board
slowly. Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, and it works as
Nice.
a dice tray or a dice jail. We say the outhouse that we have is the dice jail, and the
That's cool.
log cabin is the dice tray that you could use.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, multifunctional.
But we've got so you said you would not go into the cave. There's a lot of different caves out there, right? That like some maybe are just cold and you could live in them, but there's one specific that we call the Howling Cave. And here's a little sneak peek to kind of tease people. Like we do have dungeon crawl style maps out there, and I think the players might be interested to learn more
Mm,
about this strange raccoon god that people seem to be worshiping, or why there's a cryptid creation station, or what's in the Hodag layer.
yeah.
Um, so there's a quick
I
tour
mean
of the wilderness for you there.
that's given me Diablo flashbacks already.
Yes, yes. Um, and then like maybe you're walking through the wilderness and one of the sectors you just find in the floor of the forest like a little bunker hatch. Now we're kind of doing total lost vibes. Right? But
Yeah.
there is a bunker. It has a speaker, and there is someone inside who has a very peculiar story on what his job is in this bunker. And I think it'd be, if I was role playing this and I saw a bunker, I would be like,
Suddenly
whoa.
everything's not quite so primitive.
Well, right. And like maybe you thought you were kind of alone, but as you go and explore, maybe you happen across a door in a tree and you look up and there's this weird research station um, that has that's doing some research experiments. Why is that happening in the woods, right?
All of a sudden there's signs that people have been here before.
Totally. And maybe the sign is like it depends on what time you walk by this place or you're looking around, but it could be Vance and Bullhorn. These two scientists are out for a smoke break. That's one of the few times they kind of go outside. But
Mm.
otherwise, they're up there. So good luck climbing up there and seeing if you can reason with these guys, if they're friendly, unfriendly. Have to kind of let the dice decide.
So
Um,
by the time you get to those sorts of things, how far are you away from base camp?
yeah, you're pretty far away. I mean, if you can get through a couple sectors, 2, 3 sectors a day, maybe more if you've been through some of them, um, you're able to, some of these are maybe like a 3 or 4 day trip, but a lot of them you could go out and come back in a couple days, 2, 3 days.
And so so if they're a 3 4 day trip, you've had to spend some time at the crash site. You've done some small forays. How on the verge of psychosis are you by the time you start seeing these signs that advanced civilizations have A been here before you and B not come to greet you yet?
Well, well, right. I mean, it's kind of bonkers, and people are going to be freaking out by that time. I mean, there's the fact that you all were hibernating for so long at the same time that you have these strange shared dreams at night. And during the day, you also just question your reality. People think maybe that AI robot is messing with people or drugging you or trying to, you know, just like why is it so surreal? Why are these creatures that don't exist? There are creatures that do exist. There's wolves and bears, but like
Mm.
what is on the screen right now? Like the snallygaster, right? Like I think people were freaking out pretty hard, and then they find a bunker, right? Or maybe they find a little some wires on a tree, and they follow it up to a little camera that's watching them. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, so
um,
suddenly every all your paranoia starts peaking.
we like I like to say that like a good formula for a session would be in the morning. You wake up, you're either at the shelter or maybe you're out sleeping in the wilderness, traveling
Mm.
around, but you have like maybe a morning meeting around the campfire, around breakfast, maybe some probably not coffee, maybe some root tea or something, right? But you discuss like where are we going to get food, like what are pressing concerns, where are we going to get food, what are, projects do we need to take on, go do that, role play a little bit of that. Don't let the drudgery of like, building something get you down. Make some dice rolls and role play it. And then oftentimes while doing daily survival activities, there will be some sort of mystery that's presented. Go off and explore that. And then finally at nighttime, everyone has to make a dice check to see if they're going to have kind of a maybe unfortunate nightmare in the night, and then repeat it, right? Because you wake up and you need more food. The food doesn't. You find a bunch of food, doesn't last forever, right? Unless you
Mm.
can preserve it or keep it good. And there's going to be a lot of stuff. So like on the screen, you maybe someone sees this snallygaster flying through there and wants to follow it, or maybe they didn't see the snallygaster. Maybe they saw this barn, this decrepit barn, um, that they were, walking by and noticed all these strange symbols painted on the side, like ritualistic symbols that have been maybe warding off the snallygaster and now get trapped in this barn and can't leave without getting attacked by the snallygaster. That's one
Right,
of the
okay.
locations that I think they'll find out pretty soon. That's like
Nice.
a good example of and this is a good example of like you could role play this, like print this barn, throw it in the middle of the table, throw some trees around it, and get your guys lined up. Um, we've done that exact session many times.
And that they have to find out why that is there and how it is useful for you not dying in the long run.
Well, I gotta find out that um, they might have to fight the snallygaster, to be honest, or outsmart it, or charm it, or maybe discover that its eggs have been stolen by somebody, and that's the true reason that it's very hostile. But depending on how you approach this and how you discover the snallygaster, that might not be the case, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's right by the wheat field. So you might, before getting to the barn, we're doing a wilderness tour here. This is spoilers. I guess we should have said spoilers like a long time ago. Spoilers.
Spoiler.
um, but so the wheat fields, you might be attracted by the fireflies, which are maybe you spot them and you follow them, or maybe they're singing to you and entrance one of your friends um, to wander out far from the camp, following these fireflies, and maybe try to figure out why they're the way they are.
Mm.
And we do have there's an old church. So remember that raccoon temple that we saw in a cave? This is
Yep.
not a normal church of whatever people think of church. This is a sci-fi church of the future where they think raccoons are holy. And
Why not?
there's a if you go deeper in, I'm not telling you where these things are. These are just things that you might see when you're out in the wilderness. You might run across a creepy witch's house or a witch's hut of some sort. And I just watched the movie The Witch. They stylize it with the two V's at the beginning. Um, it's like an A24 movie, and it's very good
Nice.
Halloween movie if you're looking for something right now. The Witch, um, and that movie alone was a big inspiration for not just having the witch's house, but having like just the game, because that movie is so much, the forest is like a character, and like so many
Mm.
perfect shots, like cinematograph shots of that the woods, that I was like, all right, we got to add a witch to this. But I took my own spin on the witch. It's kind of a sci-fi puzzle that you need to solve for the witch.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice. No spoilers on that one. That that
Yes, yes.
sounds sounds something that you definitely need to explore.
There's nearby the witch's house, kind of a separate story, separate location, but everything's connected, right? Like we've made sure that everything's kind of a spider web of connections. But next
Yeah,
to it
so
is a graveyard.
you've not just put a different thing in different places and gone, oh, this is here, this is there, this is the other.
No, and you might, I love games where it's like, okay, we're out of this witch's house, never have to talk to her again. And you go somewhere and they're like, well, the witch has that. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we got to go back to, this is a bad example. Maybe it's not the witch, but everything, sometimes you're going to have to go to point A to get to point B or vice versa. And a related story to the witch is probably just the fact that there's this graveyard out in the wilderness, that's a very primitive kind of sticks and stones grave, tombstones. Um, but yeah, got to have some ghosts maybe, and some
Mm.
creepy old creepy old cemetery to go explore.
Yep.
The tour continues with, oh, there's not much to talk about here. You could use your imagination, but we have a mirror crash site. So you might happen across your doppelgangers, uh, evil versions or maybe good versions. I don't know, but a very similar campsite to the one that you have built already. But I will tell you that your campsite where you crashed, the crash site had 2 cargo containers. This one has 3.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. So a smorgasbord of loot is a potential.
Or something weird's in there, but everything else seems very similar. And how are you going to deal with another version of yourself? Are you going to
Mm.
be friends or enemies or what? Um, the a big theme we had, as I continue the tour of the wilderness for everybody. One of the big themes we had in the first game was this concept of a very creepy well in the middle of the board game board, and it had board game mechanics to it. But we have a miniature for it. I think a lot of people have miniatures for an old creepy well because
Mm.
wells are creepy.
Yep.
And we call our Facebook group the Creepy Well. So I would invite anyone who's watching, who's a fan of RPGs, board games, and 3D printing, come join us in the Creepy Well. And if you play Fierce Wilderness, the role playing game, you're going to notice that something's down in that well. You're going to notice that time in
Just
the
for
well
everybody's
has
benefit,
slightly.
we'll make sure we put the links for that down in the description. So
Yeah.
check that out afterwards.
Yeah, join us. Big part of building community, and that's where I answer questions and post, stuff like this. So,
Yep.
um, but yeah, the creepy well, sometimes there's some light coming out of it, sometimes it's dark. Go figure it out. I mean, that's one of those like you go first type of situations, right? Like, I'm not going down that well. Maybe, maybe somebody wants to, but
Did he
if
volunteer or was he pushed type thing?
yes. Um, but yeah, no, there's things to go down there and check out, and it's related to another location, the creeping darkness, and that the creeping darkness moves around. So that's something that the GM can move around, and inside it there's we haven't talked a lot about Fearsome Critters, but the inside, I can tell you, it's not too spoilery because as soon as you get in the darkness, you'll notice that there are uh, a Walkus is a type of animal. It's a four-legged beast,
Yeah.
and they have become friends with Squonks, who are very sad creatures and who just very sad and somber and always crying. But they seem to be happy with the Glowwalkus, and they've joined an alliance. So no, I won't say much more than it is a place. If you're playing this game, you see some darkness, go see what it is. That's always my advice.
Okay.
Or maybe don't, and you're gonna regret that I told you to do
Make sure you take a torch, I guess.
that. Yeah. Yes, everything, and that's a good point you bring up. Is like everything's pretty. We try to keep it real, but like you're making a movie, right? So don't stress out about stuff like, oh, how am I going to get this? You don't have to make dice rolls for everything, but you should role play and say like, hey, does anyone have a torch? If not, it's very dark. And then what happens to your torch when you go into the darkness? We'll see. Here's a miniature of This is our Geektopia Games well miniature, but we have it customizable so you can put like ravens on it or tentacles or whatever.
That's very cool as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gotten through these aren't all the wilderness locations. I'm saving some for you to find out or whatever, but we have gotten to kind of the part where in the wilderness, when you start exploring, and if you were to do a tour, at some point, if you keep walking further away, you're going to bump into a transparent wall that you can see through, but you can't move past it. And the world is and the area of the planet that you're on is enclosed in a dome. So there will be ways to maybe get through that. There will be accusations thrown at the AI guard who you see on the screen here.
Yeah.
There will be things. The dynamic of the game will change at that point, and you can either keep playing and kind of competing for the sci-fi scenarios that you're in, or you can say, hey, this is enough. I want to find out what's beyond the dome.
Yeah.
And that's one way that you can lengthen or shorten the game. But once you find out the dome, you walk a little ways and you see this really big Ferris wheel up in the distance. It takes a while to get to where you could see this. There's like some chasms you have to cross, and there's other things. But once you get there, do you want to tell us about this model? It's really cool. This was one
Yeah.
that we
So
added kind of later because
this
it
is an
fits our.
interesting one, actually.
Yeah.
I came up with this probably only about 4 or 5 months into us doing digital taxidermy, and it was one of my first big experiments in glueless construction kits. So,
Cool.
I've been an engineer carpenter for on and off of both of them for like 15 years, and we started doing the 3D print design. And one of the early things we did was like print in place stuff. But I was kind of inspired by Connects, like
Yeah.
the Connects construction systems. Like I
Totally.
wanted to make something big, but it would hold together through just jointing systems, self-locking things, and everything. So that's massive. I mean, like when you print that out, I think it's about 450 mil high, so nearly half a meter tall. Because it's a 150 scale of a 20-meter Ferris wheel,
Yeah.
right? So it's like 450 mil tall, but it all holds together, no glue, no anything. You just lock it all together, and each part of it secures the next part of it. Um, so yeah, it was quite a big experiment, and it turned out really well. I was really pleased with it at the end. Um, It'd be nice to see more of them out in the wild, to be fair.
It's on my list. I'm gonna print this thing. It's a beast. I mean, that's a centerpiece for your table right there, right?
Oh
That's
yeah,
the wow factor that I
yeah, yeah.
like. It's gonna look cool, and and yeah, just as far as like game, why do we put that in there? Like, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a amusement park. It's been abandoned for a while called Frontier Adventureland. And it's got a lot to
Ba-ba-ba.
explore. Yeah, it's got a lot of goodness to explore, and this will lead you to the second part of the finale, um, where you can, just figure out how this all ends, and
Have
and
a
yeah,
whale of a time down at the old park.
yes. There will be challenge. There are specific challenges that you got to accomplish. Three of them gets you through the park, and then you can get to the grand finale. And we hope that the ending is somewhat customizable to the experience that players have had. So we want it to reflect your time in the wilderness, and give you a satisfying resolution, but keep the game open to play some more, another time or whatever, and have different things happening.
Yeah, yeah. So that
We
it doesn't just become a one journey situation. It's a setting that you want to visit again and again.
Yeah, yeah. And like people ask a lot like, well, what happens if someone, dies? This game, you know, people can die in RPGs, and you just explain it that there's another spaceship that crashed, or another hibernation pod just opened up, or something like that. And that
Mm.
does happen because, the wilderness is dangerous. You can have accidents, get eaten by animals, you can get eaten by mythical animals,
Yeah,
or you can just run out of food or freeze. So we hope that people will just keep throwing their characters into this gnarly environment and try to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So one day you're out digging and you dig up some hand wavium, and then suddenly there's another guy there.
I love it. And that's your new character, right? So, or
Yeah,
that's someone that's now in the group. There's 16 different archetypes to choose from, so there's a lot of variety on the type of character you want to be. Some of them are kind of more wilderness focused, like a fisherman or a worker or something like that. But some of them are more criminal focused, like you're the goon or the soldier or something. But um, they're all you're all criminals, even if you're just a nice
yeah,
fisherman.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
you
You
did
you
something
can be
bad.
an Andy Dufresne type criminal, or you
Yes.
can be one of those real hardened death row type criminals. It's wide open.
Yes, and hopefully have a good mix of types, and like with your gaming group, and you can choose your crime, or you can generate it randomly. So we've got it where a lot of things in this game are like choose or roll, right? But
Mm.
yeah, it's Lost meets Con Air, or it's like Cabin in the Woods is kind of a good example of like a like insinuates that horror part of it. I try to impress on people that when you're having this experience, treat it like an action movie. You've got your ensemble cast of the Expendables or whatever, action movie stars, criminals, Con Air type
Yeah,
characters. Um, but and then you've got the wilderness survival aspect of it, but just layer horror on everything. So always be talking about how things are creepy, how things sound, how things smell, how things are just keep everyone frightened a
yeah.
little
You
bit.
can really ramp that up, sort of thing.
Yeah. And we're
Yeah,
gonna do dice as an add-on, so you can support us just by the $9 PDF, and I'm a happy person, and I much appreciate it. That's what we need, is just more looking at number of backers, because I just want to get this game out in people's hands. And so but then if
hmm,
you want to go ahead and support us and hope that we help us make more games, help the company, we've got the hardcover and the softcover versions, and then we for add-ons we have the dice, and then we have all the 3D printable stuff from Geektopia Games, the 3D printable stuff from Digital Taxidermy, which I've had multiple people ask me like, hey, what's included here, what's not? And I'm like, no, you need the digital. If you backed us on the last board game, you got everything, but you don't have the digital taxidermy stuff. So that's where you're going to want to look in the add-ons and add
yeah.
that easy to print
Yes, because
stuff.
it's not in a backing tier itself. It's an add-on that you can choose afterwards. Um,
Yeah, and so but yeah,
one of
go
the,
ahead, just you'll see it when you click next, you'll see all the add-ons, and then you can pick it. So, yep.
yeah, 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 yeah. And we if it turns out that you back this and there was a mess up or something and whatever, we'll be able to work it out and sort something out in the end anyway. So Um, people,
Digital taxidermy has been one of the best,
yeah,
people to work with. Like not just you, Neil, but like the whole team's been really, really cool and very professional and very. Even when I backed your other projects, great communication, great customer service, and everything print really good too. Which is
we
kind of
try our best. I mean, out of everything that we try to do, like quality and customer service are two of the things that we pride ourselves on. So, if we can maintain that sort of feeling from people, then that's good for me, for sure. But yeah, I mean, when you contacted us is to ask if you could use them in the pictures. You you soon said, "Oh damn, I wish I'd spoke to you sooner." And same thing, man. Like if we'd have had the opportunity to work on this from the get go, there would have been a lot of possibilities that we could have covered. So
yeah.
I'm definitely excited not only about what we've managed to achieve here in a short amount of time, but the potential of working with you guys in the future on various other projects. See what comes down the road.
We got stuff coming down the road, trust me, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's
Mm.
we should work together on this last one, and we'll do the next ones. And
And
I
from our side as well, we've had a little idea for a tabletop filler game, which would while there is a potential for 3D printed versions, it would also work quite nicely as an actual boxed game. And I haven't got the clue where to start with that, so I may well be tapping up you and you guys at Geektopia Games to maybe help bring that to life as well.
yeah, we would love to. I know we talked a little bit about that, and so I will just take a moment to give props to the guys at Geektopia Games because yeah, it's been really fun getting this experience and a little bit surreal when something from your head turns into cardboard and
Yeah,
inside a
right.
box and everything. That's kind of how it started for me. Was so John Lash is a friend of mine, and he and his friends were running a website that was a blog and some fan content for Star Wars Epic Duels.
Okay.
And it's been around for a long time. And it was Topia.info, and John started working on his own board game, and the whole crew helped him. And but it was he did all this whole board game. He got it made. The moment I had that in my hands, I was like, all right, I want to be next. Like I want to do one now because it's really just
Yeah,
cool
right.
to like make something like that. And so
It's
that
one
was
of
our
those
first.
things I guess you never think that you can be that guy.
Yeah, it's like once I saw that this is like doable, and that's why I tell everybody is like follow your dreams and like this is doable. It's a lot of work, so don't step into it lightly, but you can do this. And so we learned a lot from John Lash. He's the president of Geektopia Games.
Hmm.
And then the group is me, Derry Morgan, Ian Baskey, and Chuck Smeltzer. And so we all kind of worked on Fearsome Wilderness. That was our second game and our first Kickstarter. And now the Fearsome Wilderness role playing game is our third game and our second Kickstarter. And we're funded already. So thank you,
Nice.
thank you, thank you to everybody who
That didn't take
backed
long
us
either, did
early.
it?
Oh, I'm so relieved and so happy. I mean, we set a low goal because we can print on demand, and we just crunched the numbers to make sure that we could like make this work. And so we had a low goal, and then we hit it on the first day, and we're over 250% funded already.
Amazing.
And so I've got proofs of the book. It's all ready to go. We're going to make sure we take it very seriously that people are backing us and giving us money. We're going to get this game out. The dice will be like the last thing that ships, I think, because that was kind of a later thing that we started looking at. All the digital files, you and I'll send that out like as soon as we can, as soon
Yep.
as the start is done and the funding is arrived. And I talked about the Geektopia Games guys, the artists. Bud Wheeler, as I said, does the Fearsome Critters, and then Willis Harover did all the other like black and white art throughout the book, and is a really close friend. And I wish him the best on everything too. So
Nice.
um,
Yeah.
reach out to those guys if you need some good artists.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing package. Like you've shown me the proof of it, and I've had a look through, and the artwork is amazing. The the layout on everything is brilliant. You've got your diagrams all laid out in sections, nice and easy. All the imagery is really emotive and everything. It definitely inspires the mind. You know, you take a look through it and you can start picturing yourself in these places. You know, it is very good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And I hope that it's a game where people can have fun, right? A little bit of levity is really important in a horror movie or game, right? So
Yeah,
have some laughs, have some scary moments, um, have a challenge and get to. I personally would probably be horrible if I go out in the woods and try to live out there, but through the magic of gaming, you can go and pretend that you would be very capable out there and
yay,
roll the dice to see how it happens. So, um,
nice.
yeah, I'm excited for people to get out there and start telling me some fun stories about weird things weird
No,
adventures they've had.
that's absolutely amazing. No, I thank you very much for coming on and sharing everything about this project. Hopefully, everybody's enjoyed this, and we'll start seeing some more people roll in over the next few days. We're going to continue letting our audience know that this exists, and in general. Good luck, man. Like you've done amazingly well, and now there's only a short way left to go. So, is there anything else that you would like to bring up? Anywhere you'd like to direct people to, or anybody else you'd like to mention?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Well, I would like to say geektopiagames.com is the website where you can find out about all our games and upcoming stuff. And then our Kickstarter is the most important link. That's where we're live right now, and you can back the game. And I hope that we've hit a appealing $9 price tag for people wanting to take a chance on me. But then look how cool that book is. You can get the soft cover, hardcover, and some dice, and fire up your 3D printers. And I guess just from myself and my writing partner Ian Baskey, who together we wrote this role playing game. Thank you. I'd just like to end on a thank you for people watching. Thank you for people supporting me and encouraging me. Thank you for people backing.
Yep,
It's been really fun, and I want to keep making cool shit for everybody. So thank you.
amazing. Well, thank you very much, and everybody, go click on the links, go check it out, do back it, do support him, even if you just throw $1 because you like the project. Do it.
Definitely.
And we will catch you next time around. And see you all later.